What an honor, Lindsey, to be able to connect with you again. I always love when we get to connect because I know that you're really, really open and aware to receive any of the coaching.
Oh, thank you. No, it's really good. It's really, I like talking to you. It's like talking to my friend. So thank you. I mean, because I've been really thinking about a lot of things that when I'm working so long hours, I give up so much. And I know I shouldn't. So what I do, I don't know if you know, but what I do is every Wednesday night, I have a pottery lesson. And I go to this pottery lesson and it's just all these people are there, you're relaxing, you're doing something, and I come out and I just feel so much better. Now, as soon as I start working on a job, that is the first thing I have to give up.
Okay, so you're telling yourself a story, right? Like you got this pottery class at 6:30 till 9.
Yes.
On a Wednesday. And as soon as you land an editing job, you go into this familiar story that you can't finish by 6:30.
Yeah.
That you have to give up this pottery session.
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to like step back a bit and have you step back with me and be like, what else is going on in your life, perhaps around 6:30, that you're like, you know what, I don't give that up no matter what.
What I normally do, like for instance, I have 3 children and I've got chickens and I'm responsibilities, is what I do is I weave that in my day before I even clock on. So for instance, I will get up at 6:30 and do all these jobs so I can be sat at so I can control that, because no one expects me to be at my editing desk before 9:30. So I try and weave all that stuff before I even get to work. So then that is not, then I can give 150% to my job.
Okay. And that sentence that you just said there, no one expects me to be at my editing job before 9:30.
Yeah.
And what time do you agree to work up till?
Generally, we have to do 10 hours. It's the fixed thing in your contract. You do 10 hours.
Right. And so you're overcommitting. You're like overlapping a half an hour or a 1 hour block here.
Yeah.
So you've said yes to your pottery. You've paid for it already, and now you've said yes to an editing job where you know where you're already contracted to work past the time that you would then be able to make it for your pottery class. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then what's the sticky bit? Like what's the pain point here for you? Is it that that you're spending money on the pottery class, or that actually you would like to go to your pottery class, or that you're like, I just can't finish in time because I've worked through my lunch? Like what bit do you find yourself like that really agonizes you and bothers you about this situation?
I think because I work so hard, it's like that. I feel like I'm not being kind to myself because I really want to do this pottery lesson, or something. I want to do it because I deserve to do that. So there's a bit of a resentment here because I deserve that, because I give so much to my job. I want that for me. There's no children involved. It's what I do. No one else in my family. None of my friends are there. It's especially a thing totally for me. And I feel I will. I'm about to start a new job next week, and I'm already feeling really not happy that I'm gonna have to give up. It's like a resentment. It's like a horrible feeling.
Yeah. And Lindsey, in a way, you've stepped into the role of the victim, right? So the role of the victim here is like, oh, I really want my pottery class, which I've signed up for and I've paid, and it's especially for me. There's no kids, no other family responsibilities, but now I have this editing job that I said yes to, and now I can't. But I want to offer you that you can. Give yourself the space here to imagine that your pottery class is a non-negotiable. Okay, just like, and so we can call it like your self-care time or your pottery time or just me time. And I also want to equal it to a doctor's appointment or equal it to a dentist appointment. So if you knew that you had a doctor's appointment every Wednesday at 6:30 that was non-negotiable, you had to go there because they were going to do vital checks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you've got this editing job. What solutions start to show up for you? What different configurations of your schedule? What starts to happen for you in your brain about like,
If it
okay,
was, yeah, if it was like that and I knew like it's a doctor's appointment or something that I had to attend, then I would say to where I'm working, just so you know, every single, because this job I'm about to do will take me through till August. It's, you know, so I could say to them, just so you know, at, you know, at 6:15, it's only down the road, I have to stop every Wednesday. But I could say that, but then my mind in the back says, if you do that, you have to work ridiculous hours the other days. Do you know, because of what I feel is expected of me, of the people that I work for. I
okay,
feel they expect me to, they might give me that, but then the consequences for
right.
that.
And notice that that's something that you're telling yourself.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And if we really clock the hours here, you can say you want to leave your work on Wednesday by 6:15 to log out, and then you would
Yeah.
walk over to your pottery
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about an hour and 15 minutes
Yeah.
difference. Is that
Yeah.
right? Seven?
Yeah.
Oh no, we're talking about 45-minute
Yeah.
difference here,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And in your mind, you're equating now, if I take off 45 minutes early on a Wednesday, that I'm going to have to work ridiculous hours extra. Do you see how you're making that
Yeah.
equation?
Because that's not right, is it? Because it's 45 minutes.
Right.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Right. So this is where we can be onto like where you could be onto yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
onto myself, like, oh, all the things that I tell myself, I get myself in my own way. So what's getting in your own way right now, Lindsey, is that somehow you're equating 45 minutes to mean I have to work ridiculous hours overtime, extra.
Yeah. But I don't. I just have to do 45 minutes.
Right. And so here, when we started to put your pottery class equals just as important as a doctor's appointment,
Yeah.
just as important as your regular checkup with your dentist, right? And the reason why I actually say it equals your doctor's appointment is because of what you shared earlier. Like when you go to this pottery class, it's your time to unwind. It's your me time. It's without the kids. It's without responsibility. It's something that you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're there, Lindsey, like just describe to me like some of the feelings that you experience.
Well, I kind of totally tune out of work. It's the last thing. I do have my phone there, but there's no reception, which is brilliant. So I can't even reply. So actually, you know, I can't answer those emails, you know, because there's no reception. So so I do tune out, and it's like like I'm literally at 9 o'clock. It's like I'm like trying to bribe the pottery teacher to stay another half an hour because it goes really quickly, because it's like a relief feeling, you know, and then it makes me feel I think that's why I feel so terrible. The thought I have to give it up, because I know it just makes me feel so much
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wanna invite you to start seeing how every time you say I have to give it up, you're reinforcing it for yourself that you have to play this victim role, that you have to give this up. But actually, you don't have to, because you just already, when you identify that this could be as important or is like a doctor's appointment,
Yeah.
your brain went to work to figure out, well, how am I going to make sure I get to my doctor's
Yeah.
appointment?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to invite you to really see here that like it's pottery and it's for your own happiness, which is like a doctor's appointment.
Yeah. It's
It's
like a
for your
medication without
right.
a prescription. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or your prescription is every Wednesday at
Yeah.
6:30. This is
Yeah.
what I give myself. I give myself time for relief. I give myself time to tune out. right? And then that's like a full stop without the added stories that you put on top, which is, oh, because I clocked out early, I now have to work extra crazy hours on the other days,
Yeah.
right? So that's where the full stop is.
Yeah.
You're like, I leave at 6:15 every Wednesday. It's a non-negotiable, and that's what I give to myself.
Yeah.
So it will sometimes sneak in, right? Like I like to think that I've whatever I practice, I get really good at.
Yeah.
And so here for I don't like for how many years you've taken editing jobs and then stopped things that you love doing, that's had a lot of practice.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes, Lindsay, like even when you're leaving at 6:15, that might come in, right? Even though you've already set the you've delegated the work, you've already made it really clear to your work, like I leave at 6:15 on a Wednesday. Your teacher, your pottery instructor knows that you're arriving at 6:30. Like everything is lined up, and you might just be walking out of your office, and the thought might be like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to work overtime tomorrow. And just notice, like, oh, that thought, of
Mm.
course it's gonna sneak in
Yeah.
because it had so much practice. It just got really good, right? And I like to add on the and. So, like, oh, I have to work overtime. I have to work really hard tomorrow. And maybe I don't. Right. So it's like that thought comes in because it's like a default. It sort of knows exactly how to get in because it's found its way for so many years. It knows the pathway to your brain. And then you offer it something else. You're like, and maybe I don't have to believe that. And maybe
Yeah.
that's not true. And maybe I just have to make up my 45 minutes and
Yeah.
that's it. And then that sentence sort of like, oh, it just calms
It just does.
down.
Because I actually probably I've already made up the 45 minutes already. Do you know? I probably actually don't need to, if I were to think about it, I don't actually need to give them any more because they've already had loads.
Yeah. And so it's what you decide is going to be your non negotiable.
Yeah.
Right. So there are a few non negotiables already. Like you already decided there's a non negotiable, like you feed your chickens,
Yeah.
you sort out your kids.
Yeah.
Right. So even if your work for some reason threw something at you and said, hey, we need you to start working every day at 6:30 in the morning, I get a feeling you'd say, no, I can't.
Well, I can't because they've got to feed the chickens. They're gonna die. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's the same as I can't at 6:15 on a Wednesday.
Mm.
And I know for me, um, I used to have this expectation on myself that I had to over explain to employers, or if someone said, hey, well, why can't you, I would then try to justify and explain and get them to side with me. But
Yeah.
actually, an appointment is an appointment.
Yeah.
Whether it's a doctor's appointment, a dentist appointment, an appointment to meet your friend at a cafe, or appointment with yourself to go to a pottery class, it's equally important. And we don't have to explain what the appointment is. We can just say, I have an appointment. It's a non-negotiable. I can't move it. It's at 6:30. I must leave at 6:15.
Yeah.
And most people, Lindsay, won't ask.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's just whether or not I'm going to stand by that time commitment. If I'm going to stand by it, most people will honor it. So they follow me. So when you start to honor your 6:30 appointment to go to your pottery class, my sense is that more people will start to stand for you because they'll know, oh, Lindsay doesn't work past 6:15 on a Wednesday.
So do you think it's the way that if you really believe yourself, like say for instance, I've waited a long time to get a physio appointment. Now I'm not missing that physio appointment. So I might not necessarily tell them it's a physio appointment. I might just say, look, I can't miss this appointment. The way I say it, because I know I am very sincere about it. So do you think the more that you actually I see the pottery appointment as really actually non-negotiable,
It's non-negotiable.
then when I say it to someone, I'm going to say it in the same way, not even describing what it is, because it's so, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what you make it mean now, right?
Yes.
So, because
Yeah.
you've been putting the emphasis on like, oh my gosh, 45 minutes, I have to clock out. I've got to work all these extra hours overtime. Look at that's where you've been placing the emphasis. But if
Yeah.
we shift that energy and place the emphasis here and say 6:15, I clock out, I have a really important appointment. It's too important.
Yeah.
It's a not it's like a it's an ongoing standard standing appointment that I already have that I've already committed to before this editing job.
Yeah.
Really, it's so quick. It's the yes no check, right?
Yeah.
And I love this. I give it to all my clients and remind them to like do it daily, do it with any decision you're about to make. So when you say yes to staying at work on a Wednesday till 7 p.m., okay, so let's say you said yes to that. I'm going to work until 7, sometimes later than 7 p.m. because I keep telling myself that I've got to finish the work or I have to give all my time to this job. And you say yes to that. What have you said no to at the exact same time? Right. So you already said no to time out for you. You said no to relief. You said no to feeling less stress. What else have you said no to?
I think if I really push it, so for instance, if I don't tackle this and handle it, I could sneak out, but I might be late, so I probably won't even eat. So I'm saying, so if I think, oh, I'm off half an hour, it's like I'll try and tick every box, and I can't tick every box because do you know what? I need to finish at 6:15 because I need to eat some food. Because if I eat food before I get there, I'm going to enjoy it more. So it's like, because this is what happens is the time just creeps up because I'm blagging it because I haven't addressed it. And so so I'm turning up and I keep you're in my mind a lot. How are you going to turn up for this? Think about it before. And I do think, I'm getting there slowly. It's how do I want to turn up for these things?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I do need to address this.
Yeah. And so, okay, so what I just heard there is like, there you are, you're saying no to having a bite to eat before your pottery, right? So you try and rush to the pottery class still. I also hear in a way like you're saying no to um, a way of showing up in terms of where you're not having to hide, like in terms
Yeah.
of not having to blag it,
Yeah.
right? You're just like,
Yeah.
so you're saying no to how you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So here's this one yes. It's working for 45 minutes extra, like, or not 45 minutes extra, just 45 minutes till the
Yeah.
7 p.m. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what you're saying yes to. But look what you've just said no to all at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where a lot of I know for me and a lot of my clients, like you start to see, like, is this yes worth all these no's?
Yeah.
And you get to decide. Right. But I'm hearing for you that you probably already gave that 45 minutes already,
Yes.
or you could make it up. So really, this yes doesn't even have to be a yes in terms of I have to work till 7.
Now I think about it like this. Yeah. By me saying I can't go to my pottery lesson, it's just not worth it's not worth not going.
Yeah.
So, because of what I'm giving up, I will try and do that more often, the yes no thing.
So it was my birthday the other day, and someone said, "Hey, can I bring, is your birthday party baby friendly?" And I wanted to say yes, but I also knew that if I said yes to this being baby friendly, then it meant that I would have said no to um, us having our speakers on full blast
Mm.
because I'd have to worry about a baby's ears and the
Yeah.
volume and have ear defenders. I'd be saying no to me just having a really great time with the adults around and with like 7 to 10-year-olds around, right?
Yeah.
And instead of having like a baby around, I would be saying no to like, basically, I already said no to a bunch of other families that I'd asked, can I bring our babies? So I'd be
Yeah.
saying no to my own word, right? So there I was, like I was being asked like an hour before I was going to bed the night before my birthday party. And there was this temptation, there was like this urge to want to say yes because I thought like it would make me look nice.
Mm.
I should say yes. I should be more accommodating and all these
Mm.
shoulds that support this yes. But actually, this one yes would have meant I said all these no's at the exact same time.
Mm.
And when I did that assessment, I was like, I can't say yes.
So do you explain or not? You don't need to explain.
I didn't explain. I just said this party's not baby friendly. And I did explain with the loud sound speakers.
Mm.
And that for me was,
Enough.
yeah, enough to say it wouldn't even work for the baby to come
Yeah.
because of how loud it's going to be in the house.
So sometimes when you are doing the yes no thing, there might be certain things you don't just have to say it confidently no, because you're a kind person or that's not your personality. You can sort of pluck out one reason for them to understand, so you
Yeah.
don't feel so terrible, because you don't want to feel terrible.
Yeah. I mean, but I could have also said, oh, I would love to have babies at birth. Like I would love to have the baby here, but not at the party, not at my
Yeah.
birthday party, not tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like we'll do it another time.
Yeah. So it's the way you say it, isn't it?
Yeah.
The way that you handle it.
Yeah. Right. And it's also what I was making it mean. Like I was making it mean like I wasn't going to be a nice person if I said
Yeah.
no, but actually that's not true. That's all my stories.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I get to turn my stories around, and I totally get to turn them around, then it really supports what I'm going to say next. It supports my decisions and how I stand by myself. I stand and I get my own back.
And you can do this so this person asks you the question and you can think all these things in the time that it takes you to reply while they're stood in front
So
of
I
you.
saw the text and I had to put my son to bed. And so I had about a 20-minute thinking time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the thinking time, the process was, oh, I should say yes, because then I would be helping her out.
Yeah.
Because she was trying to help another family out by taking on a baby, bringing it to the birthday party to help this other family out. So I was like, oh, I should say yes because I could help her help someone else.
Mm.
And then while I was putting my son to sleep, I was like, but what would I be saying no to? And as soon as I asked that question, it was like,
yeah.
What would I be saying no to? So when you say yes to, working 9 till 7 on a Wednesday, what do you say no to?
Yeah.
And your list is long.
Mm. Mm. So if it's a different situation, it doesn't have to be, you do have to think about things. You need to give yourself the time to actually be able to analyze it, but it doesn't need to be forever. It could be a 10-minute thought.
Yes.
But it's knowing which questions to tell your brain to be able to get the answers to help you make the decision.
Yeah. And a really good question that I like to ask myself is that true? So my process was like, oh, I should say yes because that would make me a nice person. And be like, well, is that true? Who says?
Yeah.
Like, would that really make me a nice person?
Yeah.
Because then I'd be putting everyone out at the party, and all the musicians that agreed to play at the birthday party, they then would have to lower their amp. They'd have to lower their volume. Like, would that make me a nice person? Is that true? What I'm
Would that
telling
make you a nice
myself?
person to them, to that side of it? Well, no,
Right.
they'd be like, what have you done that for?
Right.
Yeah,
Like you agreed that this was a non-baby, party. That's why we brought our amps. That's why we brought this along. So here you always get to it's like take a second to be like, what am I telling myself?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So even when you said, I have to give up, I have to give all my time to an editing job, and then be like, is that true, Lindsey?
Is that true? Yeah. Do I have to? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like when you sign up for any editing job, do you have to give up all your time?
No. Well, I would hope that I've got, yeah. Yeah. So it's, hopefully I've earned the job they've given me this job because I've earned it. They're not going to just say, oh no, you can't, that doesn't undo
Yeah.
what I've achieved and been given this job, does it? By me making this small decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you so much. I'll be able to come back to this and, well, I'll be able to put it in action because this job I'm starting, well, it's delayed a week, but it'll be next week. So I'll be able to straight away put this in practice.
Yeah. Yeah. And if, and the, putting it in practice is also like setting yourself up with the thoughts before you say it out to them, right? And the
Yeah.
thoughts that might support that leading up to it is like, okay, this is a non-negotiable. Wednesdays I go to my pottery. It's my appointment to myself, right? So you start like it's practicing those thoughts,
Yeah.
so that way when you speak to your the new job, you go, oh, by the way, Wednesdays I have to finish at 6:15.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because that comes out because you've been saying it's like you have a new belief system now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. The other belief of like, I have to give all my time away, I can't leave, or I have to give up my pottery class. Those thoughts don't get you to say, hey, I have to leave at 6:15.
No, no, because I'm not going to tell them I have to leave. I'm going to blag it till last minute.
Right.
I have got to say that I just did a filler job last week and it was just 2 days. So these people, I don't have to, what's the word? I don't have to impress them. I've got the job, I'm doing it. So I said to this guy, I said, I have to leave at 6:15. It's on a Wednesday. I have to leave at 6:15 and I won't be able to check my emails because I've got but I didn't care as much about this job. I mean, I did a good job, but I didn't have all these strings of, because it wasn't a long job. So I told him and I read the next day. So I kind of did what you're saying. I just did it because I thought I could and I didn't feel the pressure. And then I saw when I got home at 9:00, he'd sent a message. I'd set a few things up and he sent it. He said, oh, Lindsey's uncontactable. I don't think I told him it was he said Lindsey's unavailable after 6. And it was like, oh, I think I did that. I told him and it was respected.
Yes.
So I kind of have done it. And now you're saying it, I can just apply because I saw the results of it. And I've just realized this now, even though I still have this cloud over my head of this pottery lesson for the new job. And it was respected. Yeah. So it was respected because it's the way I didn't tell him it was a pottery lesson, to be honest with you.
And Lindsey, people will follow you, right? This is what I found with all myself and all my clients is that people follow you in terms of they will take your lead. So when like I take 3 days off no matter what. And I'm off grid, right? And you know that I'm on a circus yard and I'm in my trailer for 3 days and I have no electricity for 3 days, right? I can check my phone, but I'm not able to jump on a Zoom call. Right? Like I'm very much of like, I'll check my phone to make sure that like what the weather's going to be like, but that's about it.
Or if there's an emergency or something that's really important, but the rest of it.
The rest of it will wait for when I'm back on grid, back in the office, back in the house. Right. And because I let people know, I actually tell them like, I'm going to be cooking by the fire and I go to sleep when the sun goes down. So sometimes that's at 5 or sometimes that's at 6 p.m. Whenever the sun goes down, especially in the wintertime, like I'm already in bed. And people, because they know it's so important to me, there's no question.
And you don't find it's respected.
It's respected because I'm leading the way and they're following me. They're like, wow, Dien, you work 4 days a week?
Yeah.
Right. And now it's down to 3 days a week because my home is opened up for homeschooling and I've got children running around behind me outside of this office on a Monday now. So I've structured my day and people know that. I've
Yeah.
structured my week to work for me. And so if you can if just knowing that you have a standing appointment for
Mm,
yourself
mm.
and it's a non-negotiable, and even if you started to say, hey, I have a very prestigious pottery class. It's like I've waited years to go into this pottery class. Like imagine if it was like that.
Well, it kind of is like that. I have waited years to get on this pottery class.
Right. So you wouldn't
Yeah.
you wouldn't give it up. And
No,
actually you don't even have to hide from it, right?
no.
Like that's another coaching call on like outside of this. It's more like how can those, like in terms of telling people what you do, it's like how open do you want to be? Those are all other
Mm,
questions. But in
mm.
terms of you deciding ahead of time what you're going to do on a Wednesday and what you make that pottery class mean, it is all about what you tell yourself and how you show up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's brilliant. Yeah, definitely. My pottery teacher's going to be so pleased. She's like, "Oh, brilliant! Is that how important it is?" Because it is. So that, oh, thank you. That
Yeah.
makes me feel very different to
Yeah.
my question I asked you, half an hour ago.
Well, yeah, because then you can even hear it, right? Like you're already framing it differently.
Yeah,
You're defining the pottery class differently right now.
yeah,
Before it was like, oh, I have to give it up. Whereas now you're standing by it going, no, I'm not going to give this up.
yeah. I didn't expect this to be the end result of me asking you the question. I thought you'd say, well, if you spend 15 minutes thinking like this, but it's totally not the result I expected, which is because it means I don't have to actually give up what I think I should give up. It's a completely different way of thinking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah. And
brilliant.
the only reason why you think you should give it up is because you're telling yourself you should give it up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's brilliant. Thank you very much.
You're
That's really
welcome.
good. Thank you so much. We'll put that on our website. Thank you, Dien. Cheers.